You're with Julian on the brown note and Christian Porter. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's been a beautiful thing to see. You can see the look on his face, can't you? It's just worn years off of him. Is that what happens when entitlement is wiped from an entitled man? He looks terrible now. He looks like he's actually on death row or something. So Christian Porter, our Attorney General in Australia, hasn't had the best year, if you've missed this story. Now replaced by Michaelia Cash as Attorney General. Not even the best legal mind in her street. He has had a lot of people saying that he's a rampant lifelong sexist. Apparently it's an open secret in Parliament. The ABC made a documentary that must still be making the Liberal Party look for ways they can actually privatise it every single day, where it revealed that Christian Porter and Alan Tudge were up to their necks in misogyny and bad behaviour towards female staff, and that was systemic. Done lots of shows on that, including naming Christian Porter before he was named a couple of months ago. Now, we all thought that was a great deal of fun. And obviously, ever since the spiralling Liberal Party problem with women, even up to the heinous areas of rape and suicide, mistreatment of staff, even in their own buildings, as we found with the rape of Brittany Higgins, another story I focused on. But we didn't realise quite how deep the rabbit hole with Christian Porter went. He is a guy that just helped destroy the family courts in Australia, and we thought that he was just this really sexist guy that was up to no good out on the streets of Canberra, drinking and carousing young female staff whilst burning through 2 marriages. And then came another rape allegation, and that was a mother lode. And basically the woman that had accused a current senior Liberal Party member of rape in 1988 when she was 16 years old, committed suicide last year. In the process of reporting the issue to the police, we've now even just scratched the surface on certain elements, like when the police actually cancelled visiting her. Senior police from New South Wales were due to travel to visit her when their boss intervened in a manner we still don't fully understand, using COVID as an excuse to say that the trip wasn't warranted. And she killed herself a few days later, and apparently had said that she didn't want to proceed with the matter any further. Speculation mounted, I outed, and very quickly Christian Porter was named. During the course of this process, the ABC made a documentary, wrote some articles. One in particular drew the ire of Christian Porter, as he believed it named him as a guilty party in the whole episode, and he came out in Parliament in tears, and finally Scott Morrison had to let him go, because Scott Morrison will only stand by you until it's very inexpedient politically to do so. So he was ousted from his role as Attorney General, the one-time blinding light of the Liberal Party. Evidently, the guiding star of the Liberal Party is able to be a sexist known by all of the other politicians in the party. It might even be a prerequisite. So he launched defamation against the ABC, which must have made him a hero amongst the right, where he saw a high-stakes game to sue the ABC for defamation. The ABC said, "Come on then, big boy, let's see what you've got." It didn't go very well for him. Basically, it was one of the worst court case decisions to proceed with in modern history. He lost his legal counsel fairly last week, I think, a week ago, because she'd actually had confidential information from one of the people that was involved in the trial. And then I think the ABC had something like 26 pages of evidence to back up their side of the story, which he was seeking to strike out. Last night, he dropped his case and went on TV and claimed to have won, despite launching a multi-million-dollar defamation case seeking damages, apologies, with withdrawal of the article, and no doubt millions of dollars. He got nothing at all. He they went into mediation, which is very common in defamation trials, and he then dropped his case. He didn't get damages. He's clung to so much. He actually accused the ABC of regretting their article. They didn't. They appended the article, which is still online, which they then celebrated and added a little bit saying, some people inferred from the article unintentionally that he was guilty. We didn't mean him to be inferred as guilty. We meant him to be inferred as a person who was accused. They added this little box, and he's screaming that he won a defamation case that he dropped, that he brought, he dropped, he got no money for, he got no costs. The ABC paid for mediation, which was completely normal and a very small part of that budget. And from that, he is crying victory. It's wonderful. The trial of the century won't be happening. Christian Porter's dropped his defamation case against the BBC, or as the conservative-leaning Australian said, settled. He's just withdrawn his case. For no apology, no damages, but a contribution by the ABC to his rapidly spiralling legal bills. The ABC confirmed it wasn't paying his legal bills, just the mediation costs. What caused this sudden and spectacular retreat? You can take your pick from three possibilities. Porter looking down the barrel at a long, extremely expensive litigation with the risk of utterly destroying his reputation. I would say that boat has sailed to Byzantium. The imminence on Tuesday today of Porter's attempt to strike out the most enticing parts of the ABC defence, with the attendant risk of their becoming very public soon. These are the 26 pages I mentioned that apparently contain some very, very, very nasty stuff about Christian Porter. And the loss of last week of Sue Chrysanthou SC, removed by the federal court case because of a conflict of interest. My guess is all three. This is from Crikey. I would add some more in there. I would say this, it's very telling that going to all this trouble of a high stakes defamation trial, Christian Porter seems happier to let the public have an impression of him as a child rapist than hear the evidence the ABC has on him. We all want to hear this, and we may get to. I'll say this, Christian Porter immediately, and this is why it's so obvious that it was about that evidence the ABC had. One of the ABC journalists said they will be fighting to get that information in the public domain. He immediately fired back, how dare you, this was part of our mediation process that you weren't going to tell anyone. Oh dear, what is in there? It's going to be gold. I really hope it doesn't leak. But it might still come out. He seems to be very, very sure that that was part of the deal. I say this, Christian Porter went out there after they made this deal, which wasn't a deal. They had entered into mediation where the only thing the ABC has done is add a paragraph to the article saying that if people infer from the article that he's guilty of rape, that isn't what the article was about. That's it. He withdrew. Now, if he wasn't so utterly terrified, if he's gone to attack the ABC so relentlessly in the press conference afterwards last night, he doesn't have a right for them to abide by any terms that were agreed in the mediation. He has misrepresented everything about the mediation. He said that they regretted the article. He said he won. He said that he was, standing up for his rights. He trashed the ABC. Go on, ABC, have your pick. You don't owe him anything now. Even if there were any caveats in this mediation process, him coming out and misrepresenting the whole process, in my mind, invalidates all of that. And I think there's an elephant in the room here. Scott Morrison didn't want this legal trial happening over the next 6 months while he's having an election campaign, did he? I would suggest that that is a massive part of it too. So he was scared he would lose. The party were on his back. ScoMo didn't want this public all the way through. He didn't have a case at all. And the sad thing is, either way around, the taxpayer's paying for it. Porter, like all defamation plaintiffs, was riding a wild bull without a saddle. He thrown down the maximum challenge to the ABC by pleading the grossest defamatory imputations possible. that the ABC had called him a brutal anal rapist. The ABC had not taken the bait, adopting instead the sensible tactical approach of denying that imputation ever arose and pleading that the worst thing its story had implied about Porter, that there was a reasonable basis for suspecting him of committing the rape. Oh dear. It had also put a ton of material in its defence, which was suppressed by the court pending Porter's attempt to strike it out today, one day after Porter dropped his case. Whatever it included, Porter sure didn't want anyone else to read it. The strikeout application would have been hard fought. Can we assume the ABC's extremely highly quality legal team had put together a document it was very confident it could support? Porter was facing the risk of an early loss, followed by the publication of the full defence and the extra attention his attempt to keep it out of court would have provoked. There are renewed calls now for a public inquiry into those historical rape allegations levelled against Porter, so he's done a great job of sweeping this under the rug. He launched defamation in March against the ABC concerning a letter sent to Scott Morrison. The letter alleged a senior member of government had raped a 16-year-old woman in 1988. Labour's shadow attorney Mark Dreyfus said the allegations must be dealt with. There must now be an independent investigation to ensure Christian Porter is fit to continue to serve as a federal cabinet minister. He is still, after all, a federal cabinet minister. The government was touting this court action as the means by which there would be some form of independent inquiry. Scott Morrison resisted any independent inquiry, saying that Christian Porter's trial was such an inquiry, tested in court. It's not happening now. Let's have this independent inquiry. There are serious allegations. There is a cloud there which should be resolved for everyone concerned, not least for Christian Porter himself, I would assume. They have been forced by Porter said, they have been forced by my taking this action all the way to the court door. They've been forced to say they regret the article. By me threatening to take it all the way to the court door. You actually withdrew your case. The ABC were happy to go through with their case. You withdraw yours and say that they regret the article. They didn't. They said they stood by the article and that they regret if anyone got the inference from it that you were guilty. Well, it's this now, as it all comes down to what are those 26 pages of evidence the ABC has. Christian Porter faces a new twist in his high-stakes defamation battle with a fresh hearing on the horizon over whether Channel 9 News and News Corp, the Murdoch Press, have sought open access to the ABC's defence documents, which his legal team have sought to have removed from the federal court. However, Nine, the owner of the Australian Financial Review and News Corp, are seeking open action. They've actually gone to court today about this. And Kangaroo Court, a great website, great Twitter blog, great thing to follow on Facebook, does lots of really hard-edged stuff on the Aussie government. Kangaroo Court blogger Shane Dowling has also made an application that he should be entitled to intervene in the action. As part of the settlement, the parties agreed to have chunks of the ABC's defence and Mr. Porter's reply removed from the federal court file. Now, if I prepared a defence from someone that was suing me for defamation and dragging me through court, and I prepared my defence, but he'd pulled out, I'm showing the whole world, especially when he pulled out because of what's in those pages. Excellent stuff. I can't wait for episode 5 of Christian Porter versus the world. And I really hope that Scott Morrison's desire to sweep this under the rug has just been dealt an even bigger blow by everyone getting their hands on all this juicy Christian Porter gossip. He remains, like all liberals, completely unsackable.